Hey, welcome to This Week with Chris and Bob. This is our last call for the year, Chris. We got a couple days left.
I mean, we could just go rapid fire and do it every day till the end of the year.
Yeah, I guess we could do that one.
I got nothing better to do. so, uh,
Anyway, it's the end of the year, and there's still no shortage of cyber issues out there. But we get people asking all the time about password managers. What do you use? What do I use? And are they safe? Why am I giving somebody else my password? And there's been stuff in the press about LastPass and other password managers getting compromised. So I figured we could unpack some of that. And
oh yeah. Well, all right. Let me get ready for this. All right. LastPass's response to their breach in August, terrible, horrific. They lied. Now, did they lie blatantly? Probably not. They probably didn't realize the extent of how bad they got breached. I posted a video earlier this week talking about it. Actually, I think it might have been Saturday. Honestly, it was Christmas Eve. What else am I going to do? I couldn't go to Christmas because we got hit with a
a
storm.
little bit of snow.
Yeah, well, it was more the 50-mile-an-hour winds and stuff, and they closed highways around us. So, uh, look, password managers are necessary evil at this point because the average person, the last I read, has over 100 passwords. I have over 1,000. I don't know, Bob. I don't know, man. You're like we both use password managers, so
Yep. And I couldn't survive without my password manager right
no,
now. And
not unless I
we
want to
need.
password reuse and just be hit with every attack known to mankind. Um, but so I don't use LastPass. I used to. I moved on to a different password manager, but I'm not here to dump on LastPass because fundamentally it's worse to not have a password manager than it is to have one that's had some security issues. And LastPass obviously has had some security issues that they need to clean up. This last one, what turns out, if you haven't seen anything about it, is they got customers' vaults stolen. So what does that mean?
Encrypted vaults.
Kind of. The URLs weren't encrypted, so they could see, and they didn't encrypt IPs, so they're not encrypting all the metadata. So to that point, a lot of other password managers encrypt the entire metadata. LastPass
Okay.
doesn't. Is that horribly bad? Not necessarily, but what it leads to, or what it could potentially lead to, is if they can't crack the vault, what they could do is craft phishing emails and go spear phishing after individuals, especially if they know the email addresses. They can
Sure.
kind of spearfish after you, trying to get your master password from you. Now, if you use a password manager, we've harped on this before. Please do not use your password for your password manager anywhere else. This is a passphrase. This is something that should be long, something only you should know. You can write it and put it in the safety deposit box or something else like ultra safe, but it should never be reused. And that's where people need to be scared. If they reused it, it doesn't matter if they change their master password now. It does for their current vault, but like the one that's stolen is whatever it was. So at some point they might be cracked. It may be brute force. They might be, accessed at some point. So it's probably good practice to go change passwords in general. But does it mean you leave LastPass? I don't know. If you leave LastPass because of your discontent with the way that they handled it, okay, I can see that. But the flip side is they got completely pwned, and they didn't give up the vaults per se. They did get the vaults stolen, but if you have a good passphrase, the chance that and you use good practices, the chance that your password vault's going to be actually accessed is pretty minimal.
Right, but it's at this point in time, it still could be a good best practice to
Yeah.
go in and start changing some passwords, because changing passwords does reset other things that we've seen, like in the Office
Mhm.
365 space. Old session keys just get expired and they don't work because people with multi-factor authentication think, oh, I'm protected all along. Well, yes, you're protected in some sense, but if you hit that button that said never prompt for login again, where you've got that saved cookie. That saved cookie, guys, lets people in if they get it.
Yep.
But changing the
And
password typically invalidates those cookies, mostly.
yeah. And again, this is a downside of any password manager as well. If you have a weak password to get into it, this is a problem. To Bob's point, if you're not doing cybersecurity strategic planning properly, you don't have things where you can monitor certain things, and you click on a link, they could steal session tokens. This has been popular with Microsoft. It's been popular with Google. So all the protections you put in place, like if you have an active session that's already been 2FA'd or MFA'd access and they can get that token, yeah, they can bypass it. There's one that was hitting consumers a couple months ago. It was stealing their Discord tokens.
Okay.
Discord is just like a chat, is like chat and video. It's for communities and things like that. It's normally used by gamers. They're trying to branch out, but yeah, they were stealing people's Discord tokens, and they were trying to. But then what they were doing is they were like blasting out links and stuff inside Discord to all the other people trying to get them to do things. So, and then they also hit them with ransomware. So, there's that.
You get the token and you hit ransomware. Just just the next step.
Yeah, but don't just leave and stop using password managers because you're afraid of something like this. What we want to do is we want to use good practices to make sure that you're as protected as you can be. Because the flip side of not using a password manager is far more dangerous than actually using one. And I've seen too much chatter about people like, you should just leave LastPass. You should just stop using password managers. You should only use password managers that aren't stored in the cloud. All this stuff, it's like, okay, well, if you use one that's local and you're not updating it properly, there's been tons of vulnerabilities in like the open source ones that just like put passwords in clear text, which meaning anybody could read it. So they're not infallible. Like,
right.
All of these have downsides, but the worst downside is when you reuse passwords across multiple sites and you don't use a password manager. That's where you get hit far more often than actually having a password manager company breached. So I'm kind of irritated with the fear part of it. Like, yeah, it's bad. Yes, they didn't respond properly, but also they're going to learn from this.
Well, the other thing is, yes, in hindsight, they didn't respond properly, but did they really know where they were? Did they really know what the extent was of the breach was before they answered?
They may not have. Yeah, sometimes I can take 2 months.
Defend them, but
yeah, and sometimes it can take 2-3 months from time of a breach. I mean, you're finding stuff from Suffolk County, New York, that like you're finding out this happened in July, and we're just now finding out like the extent of it. So you're talking 5 months? Over 5 months.
Yeah.
So Xfinity, I mean, they have people getting 2FA bypassed right now and getting their email stolen and getting their email accounts stolen, and they haven't responded yet. And this started happening the 19th.
That's crazy.
So yeah, people had. By the way, I asked a question on video. Who uses an Xfinity email account? Like,
it's amazing how many people do use their cable the accounts that are supplied with their ISP, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Yeah. You want to switch, you're going to lose that account.
And I know some places like you can only get Comcast. Like you're pretty much, like especially here in Michigan, some municipalities have signed deals where Comcast is the only option, which is stupid. But like anyway, there were people getting the crypto wallets stolen and stuff like that because they're what it sounds like is circulating is threat actors have a way to forge the 2FA token that they get asked when they go to log into their email. And Comcast hasn't responded yet. Kind of important. They should probably do that. So if you use an Xfinity email, you probably shouldn't, or move like critical services off to a different email account.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're doomsdayers, man. What is it? A couple days before the end of the year? All right.
Yeah, right.
We were talking before we went live about strategic planning, and I know you said you haven't done much strategic planning for 2023. You've done some.
We've done some.
So I had a day I brought my team in Tuesday, so a few days ago, and we went through an entire day of strategic planning for 2023. I was so exhausted. I hate to admit this, but I actually laid down in bed at like 7:30. So did I fall asleep?
Riley sleeping on your lap. It looked like.
That was yesterday. Yeah, I was kind of burned out a little bit yesterday too. But uh, we're trying to we're trying to figure out, and this is probably every business. We're trying to figure out how to differentiate in the market. And I'm, Bob and I talk about this stuff all the time. It's hard. It's like I see so many similarities between different types of businesses. So when you do service-based business like we do, um, I I talk to different like CPAs, other people doing service type businesses. We all have the same problem, right? Try to differentiate our businesses and things like that. And one of the things that we want to do is focus a day on that, and we're trying to focus more quarterly now. But it, the short of it is, uh, I put your cyber team on here because Techie Gurus is a company name right now, but we're changing that, and we're in the process of changing that. But we're actually going to flip our business model. So if you haven't thought about flipping your business model a little bit, I mean, if anybody wants to talk more about that, we can. We'd love to have somebody come on here that isn't necessarily in the IT space that has to radically change the business model, because I think it's something important that we all should probably talk about.
We can
And
corner Mike in Phoenix and have him do something.
see if we get him on here. Yeah, that'd be awesome. But yeah, it's kind of important because we're trying to differentiate ourselves with in the marketplace, because like there's so many IT providers out there, and it's hard for people to make that choice, and we understand that. But this is the time of year where you kind of think about that stuff and like what you want to do.
We've had a lot of conversation around that already, and we are doing something similar and really looking at helping businesses manage risk. We're not talking about we're not the IT company anymore. We're different. We're different than we were 2 years ago. We're different than we were last year.
Shit, we're different than we were like 5 minutes ago. You kidding me?
Yeah, I know.
Before you started this, like the only constant that we live with has changed at this point. Like
So,
there's so much going on. But for me, and I don't know if Bob agrees with this, and we're going to find out in a second. But I think the industry as a whole has done a really bad job of going. Well, that's close to him.
yeah,
Has done a really bad job of focusing on strategic planning with customers and getting way too tactical right up front. And we've been guilty of that in the past. And what I mean by that is we bring in technical people want to bring in tools to fix problems. The reality is like strategy and strategic planning is far more important than the technical tools that get brought in, because we need to have a plan. And that's something that we're trying to change in the way that we deliver our services, the way that we even offer our services to the marketplace. And like Bob said, with IT risk, it's important to make sure that the strategic part of it's done first before you actually even implement anything tactical. And I think that's been a big problem in the industry.
that's been a big problem all along. People don't have a plan. They don't know how to react, and that's what we're trying to do better also, because without a plan you don't know where you're going. And Chris, this goes back to your scouting days. You
Yeah.
know, you didn't go on a camp out without a plan.
Or sleeping bag.
That too.
Yeah, like be prepared is such a big thing, but like yeah, I mean we had checklists, we had things that we had to do and stuff like that. And same thing with our businesses. Regardless of whatever type of business you are, there needs to be a plan for the good, the bad, and the ugly, right?
Hmm.
Stuff's gonna happen and we're gonna have to deal with it. We're gonna have to adapt to it. So yeah, we get some changes coming, like the way that we're gonna offer things. So
Cool.
it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna see how the market really does this, because I don't the way we're thinking about it isn't like anything else. I think between the way that we talk and things like that, it's not typical of the market.
Perfect. Well, I think that's enough for today. We got a new year starting, and we'll kick off the new year next week with with more. We'll find out more about your new company name. We'll find
Yeah,
out more about your cyber team.
we'll cover that, and I'll talk about the model. I think I'll talk about it. I'll share. I don't care.
Cool.
I think it's a good thing. Have a safe New Year, guys. Be safe. At least we're not getting 40-degree winds and like 4 degrees across 90% of the North America, apparently.
Yeah,
So
we aren't going too far. I'll go. I just figure out what I have to wear to the living room this year.
I got to do some Christmas stuff because all our stuff got canceled. So
No.
it got pushed to this week, which this week is going to be like almost 40 degrees, and last week it was like 4 with like
Yeah, so
like
Sean had to
32
work
field.
Sean had to work Christmas Day, so
Oh,
our Christmas got spread out to 3 days. So
yeah, I got some family that work at hospitals, so they were same deal. They had to work on Christmas Day too.
yeah.
So between the weather and that, but everybody have a safe New Year. Sorry for our bantering going on, but you know what? If you have any questions or any comments, or you just want to jump on and talk with us, let us know. We'll invite you on.
Cool. Next week,